Hello, and welcome to the War in the Pacific, where it is the 17th of March, 1942, in the Wirraway versus Encircled play-by-mail campaign. You may recall from last turn that we missed Leander, but not this time. And Leander is sunk, adding to the butcher's bill of the cruisers lost by the Allies in the South Pacific. The typical nightly raids on Jaffna. Plungers operating off Suva. Looks like some anti-submarine effort against my long-range subs operating off the coast of Alaska. Just continuing to attack guerrillas on Sumatra. Okay, so first of the landings on Borneo, part of that pincer movement we talked about last turn. Don't really like the term, but it fits here as we go after Miri and Terracon almost simultaneously. See if he has any response that could threaten our invasions of Borneo. Doesn't really have many aircraft do much damage there anymore. Of course, if you were trying to invade Borneo without having first taken Java and the rest of the islands, it would be a very different situation. But you always have to be careful. He could fly in some long legged aircraft like Vindicators from Australia and mess up your air defense forces that way. If you wanted to risk the ops losses. Okay, Betties are just recon by bombardment. Looks like some AA units back there. Again, I think the writing's already on the wall. He has too much combat power for me to force through at the moment. In India, referring to. Oh, he has some cap up. So sweeping Oscars. Finally find some Warhawks. Bomber losses have been so light and the bombers have been so active. I've got lots of very experienced bomber pilots now. He's going after the airfields, presumably at Raipur. I have lots of engineers at Raipur. So he he can hit it pretty hard, but I can get the airfield operational again quickly if I need it. The issue is you really can't long range cap your units as they're advancing because enemy sweeps will just tear your fighters to bits. And so, while that airfield is useful, it's hard for me to, eventually impossible for my Air Force to fight him over Raipur, Nagpur with any real chance of success. Um, we could cap Raipur and fight his sweeps, and that works. But, it doesn't achieve really, other than indirectly, any protection of the advancing units. When I say indirectly, the loss of fighters and potentially bombers would um, weaken his air force. But then it would take a very major effort. Thinking longer term, what I would like to do as I'm withdrawing is see if we can entice him to advance and turn the tables and uh, hammer his air force and ground troops that way. Given how aggressive he is, I think that is a potential opportunity. Is withdraw, see if he'll advance, then um, turn the tables on. No real surprise. He didn't try to go after my amphibious assaults on Borneo. Instead, the P-40s were capping over Manila. Those P-40Es function as both his strike aircraft and his fighter wing for what amounts to the remainder of the Philippine Air Force, or the U.S. Air Force in the Philippines. So we're still recovering squads. Obviously, we have a distinct advantage here. He continues to bombard. Entire 7th Australian Division is there, along with their engineers. It's that 6th Medium Artillery Regiment and these 2 artillery battalions that are the toughest to deal with for us. These tend to be overstated. You can see his artillery definitely getting the best of it. Paratroopers grab that intermediate base. They may not be able to hold it. Okay, well, not a lot happened. We'll speed through the end of the turn here. Let's take a look. So here's our invasion task force heading into Tarakan. We've landed at Miri. If we can take Miri, we can cap from Miri. If not, uh, it's a real stretch to provide any long range cap from our other bases. So there's some risk. He has a few bombers, can potentially long range cap from Jesselton. Probably have to do. Notice the configuration of these task forces. I use all low value ship um, linked up with the uh, light cruisers, or essentially all low value ships, not exact but close, because I've found, you know, even though the larger ships are more survivable, they tend to just burn out. So you just take the losses and move on. Um, I haven't found any solution that, particularly after the first phase, when the cruisers will fire in defense. But every subsequent unloading phase, the coastal guns just hammer your transports. First, during the Japanese bonus phase, your troops are already ashore, but supplies, etc., and that just end up burning out those transports. Just part of the coin of war. Um, okay, we can redeploy our submarines. We caught and sunk Leander as she was trying to withdraw. That's always good. You, you can see he has some mines here. We're going to have to clear those and get some of our own mines, but we're always short on mines. Interesting submarines here, but they're operating blind as we bring in more reinforcements. These are engineers. We will get into Wallis Island. Remember, the whole reason for the previous operations involving the carriers was to attrit his naval forces enough. We didn't need the carriers anymore to reinforce, build up Wallis Island, and eventually move on the Samoa Islands. So that's appears to be going fine. I'm going to pick up part of these, put them out, the 16th Division. Uh, they're going to be part of the assault force on the Samoa Islands. Okay. More troops unloading in the Philippines, but again, the Philippines just are what they are at this point. Naval Guard units to get some experience. So just check in on China. The armor is all ready for Lanchaos. We'll start off with sort of the typical all armor assault, and then add the infantry once we banged him up again. This mixed brigade is going to take Yenin, has to cross the river. His cavalry is coming towards Lancho's other side and beginning to redeploy forces from Rumshi that they will focus on taking the last target in northern China, which is Sining. Note Sining is quite valuable to the Japanese, though it's hard, can't build up its air capacity very much. It's you can get it up to 400 victory points, and Lanchao, which you can build out another 5, you can get up to 550 victory points, along with the oil Of course, the Lanchow oil does actually flow while um, the rum sheet seems to pool there. Maybe when everything's taken, we'll see some move, but other players have said no, which is fine. The Japanese wouldn't have necessarily known that at the time. Okay, so we want to keep driving here, wrap up our Burma campaign, but we really major unit can be redeployed, including the Imperial Guards Division and some of the infantry regiments. The infantry regiments will move on Lido, and the Imperial Guards will be sent to further bolster our forces in the Calcutta region. As we talked about last time, we're going to lock here, then withdraw, then rail out, and probably we'll watch for what his response is, but see if we can get him to advance. And I think we can. And then sort of turn the tables on his air force, particularly in India. Meanwhile, preparing for the invasion, the proper invasion of Ceylon, because he will soon wipe out our small forces there. Just a reminder, if you're not familiar with this, until you take Lido, you have to move fuel from Rangoon to Calcutta to keep the heavy industry of the Calcutta region going. You have a good bit of heavy industry here that needs about one tanker uh, every other week. One of the smaller tankers, 8,000-ton tanker every other week to keep it fueled until you can get Lido, assuming you can keep Lido intact. Sometimes, once Chittagong and others have been taken, you may get the fuel to flow from Burma directly to Calcutta and not have to ship it in. Anyway, we'll see what the next turn has in store as we continue to move on Borneo and uh, progress seemingly slowly, but things are going pretty well in most theaters. I look forward to our next chance to talk.